did you do that? How did you do that?
Today is February 6, 2017, and it's 8:23. I didn't go to the gym today. It's my rest day. Yesterday I sort of did a mini full body without doing anything major. And I was sitting here working on the book that my one body part per week plan, putting the ideas behind them together. It's pretty much done. It's just that I'm going over some stuff to make sure I write it correctly, and just some sort of editing. If I could find somebody to look it over for me to fix some stuff, because sometimes when you write your own thing and it always sounds good in your head, but when somebody else reads it, it's completely different. So I don't have anyone to do that for me, so I'm trying to take my time and make sure it somewhat sounds good, but with the truth behind it. Anyway, that's not why I'm making this video. Yesterday when I came from the gym, I had something in mind to explain. I believe I did the video, but sometime when I come from the gym, I know what I want to say, but the words cannot come out. My brain cells have been demolished at the gym, so I couldn't think of the words properly. So I decided to redo it today, and hopefully I explain it slightly better. I'll show you guys a small clip of what I did yesterday. Maybe it did make sense, maybe it did not, but when I sort of looked at it last night, I just didn't like it. But anyway, so last week when I was doing focusing on my knees, I had some neck muscle spasm. It's much better. I could move my neck freely. I took my time. I stay away from lifting anything above my shoulders to prevent from using the neck muscles with any load or weight or whatever it is. So I focus on my legs because I have sciatica. Since I had my sciatica a couple of years ago, my left leg have been very weak. So there were some issues I wanted to do. There were some therapy I always wanted to do. Every now and then I did them, but I never followed through, be consistent with it. So all last week when I went to the gym, I was focusing on this therapy thing for my legs. I have videos, I've already put them up. While I was doing this therapy, and I wanted to start using my my upper body muscles, because they've been resting for long. So I decided to do some movement I call it shadow exercises. Maybe it's the correct term, maybe it's not, but it's a movement that I do without any weight, but I mimic the kind of exercises that I would have been doing if I were to carry a load, or a dumbbell, or barbell, whatever the equipment may be. So I did them with just body weight and just mimicking the movement. So while I was doing one particular exercise, my chest is against the bench, and I call it around the world. Sometimes I do it with weight, but it was last week that I thought about it, and I was doing it on the bench. I'll show you a clip of that. I was doing it on the bench, and then I was like, maybe I should explain the idea behind some of the joint. But the joint that I want to focus on is the shoulder joint, where what is it? I think it's called ball and socket. Ball and socket joint is where you have one particular joint that looks like a ball, right? And then you have a socket that, you know, where the joint could move in many directions. So what I was thinking is that I've done, lat pull down with the two handle where I'm going like this, right? And I also call that around the world because it's still the same movement when I'm at a different angle and I'm doing it like this. And then when I'm sitting upright and I take the resistance and I'm doing it like that, it's still around the world. It's just a different angle. So the thing that I wanted to talk about is that I have a lot of, I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal here, but I have a lot of people complimenting me on my back. You know, a couple ladies at the gym, you know, they said they just compliment me on my back. But I don't do anything really heavy. I don't do anything special. I don't do anything magnificent. It's just that I utilize the joints based on their full capabilities. For instance, your knees can only move, what is that? I think it's called hinge or something like that. I don't want to say the wrong term, but I want to focus mostly on that. But one example is the knees. You could go like this, right? And then your ankle, as I was doing some of my exercises, I could go like that. I could do plantar flexion, eversion, inversion. So you have to use the joints to its full capabilities. So the reason I have a decent looking back, okay, see if I do this, you could see some of the muscles. You know, you make your own judgment, okay? So the reason I'm able to have that decent looking back is because I utilize the joint to its full capabilities. So yesterday when I was explaining it, I don't think it came out right. And I drew this to show it. This picture was also in that video yesterday. But I added more to it to show the ball of the, I think it's, where is it, humerus? So let's say this is the shoulder joint here. You have the ball of this bone that connects into the socket of your, what is it? How do you call this thing? Pelvis, not pelvis, is down. God, clavicle. It couldn't come. Clavicle and all those bones comes in, and then you have muscles connected to all of the bones, and then you have the ball of your arm, I think it's humerus, connected to the socket. So whenever you have a ball, think of a ball, you roll it on the floor. It could go many directions. So it's the same thing with the arm, shoulder. You could move your arm in many different directions. Now, sometimes if you don't utilize the movement that much, you can't automatically go and start doing some crazy shit and then dislocate your shoulder. So you have to know your own capabilities. If you want to use those joints to its full capability, you have to ease yourself into it, do movements that will allow you to eventually allow your full range of motion on those joints. So sometimes you see me doing lat pull down single arm where I'm going like this. Okay, I keep all these straight. My wrist, my hand is holding the resistance, but none of these joints is moving with the exception of the my rotator cuff, right? So I will usually, when I do that, I put the heaviest I could go because there's all these muscles helping it, but the movement is limited. All right, so I will go like this, okay, to move the rotator cuff muscle. And sometime when I'm sitting, doing seated row, I will also do the same movement. Instead of being up, it will be like this. Everything remains straight, right? and I'm just pulling the shoulders. And then once I do all of these movements, and sometime I'll use the two handle, do the crossover to do this, to allow more range of motion. Okay? So when you guys are doing any kind of exercise, and plus different exercises require different load. Okay? Like I said, when I keep all these parts, the wrist joint, the elbow, and this part locked, and I'm only using the rotator cuff to pull this, I'm able to go heavy, unlike if I'm doing two-handle seated row like this. Yeah, sometimes I go heavy here, but there's different movement that requires different load. Just because you could go heavy like that doesn't mean you could go heavy and doing other type of movement, right? So when I was doing reverse fly, almost the same type of movement, but I positioned my body at a different angle. What I did is that I put my forehead on my knees like this, and that's when I was doing the shadow exercise. I wasn't holding any load, any weight on my hand. It's just my body was doing mimicking the movements as if I were to be holding a weight. All right, I'm just gonna use this arm because I have the table here. So I'll have my forehead against my knees, and then I'll do almost like how do you call this, around the world. This is around the world when I'm sitting at 90 degrees, around the world like this. When the bench is at 45, going like this. They all hit different muscle fibers. That's why I do the same thing at different angle. And I also usually sometimes put my forehead against my knees to do lateral raises, and sometime when I'm already in that position. Okay, let me show you what lateral raises, reverse fly or lateral raises you could do. Right? Forehead against my knees, doing this. And sometimes I do around the world also. Start here, going like this. Which means my arm is moving in all these directions. Now, one of the things people sometimes forget to do, not really forget, but I guess they bypass it or they don't think too much about it. When I do my around the world, and sometimes I want to focus in this position. So I will do, for instance, couple front raises while my forehead is against my knees. There's the front raises. And then lateral raises or reverse fly. Okay, so I've done this at that particular angle, and that at this particular angle. It's hitting different muscle fibers on the arm, different muscle fibers on the back. Now, this is the part we sometimes not forget or ignore or don't think too much about it, is this angle. While you at your full body is at a different angle. This part. So which means it will be, okay, right here. Right? It's not front, it's not side, it's between the front and the lateral side. Right? It's at an angle. You do this. And if you want to target more muscle, you slightly reverse, you shift your arms slightly again to hit different muscle fibers. And then there's the lateral. And then you can move it slightly back. And then you can move it way behind. Okay? Sometimes I do this. Okay? Like that. And then you bring it here. 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 And here. And then there are times I do this, which hit all the angles. And when you do these movements, you can't really go heavy, because not only you're fighting with gravity, and you have to try to keep your arm level to do the movement. So different movement require different load and things like that. And I was just thinking of something else while I was doing this. I lost it. So yeah, I was thinking about that yesterday. I don't think I explained it well. Like I said, you have to utilize your joints to its full capabilities in order to see result. When I do my forearm exercises, I believe I've explained it in so many other videos. I will do supinated grip. Okay, the load will be here on my hand. I'll hold it like this, and I'll move it like that. So this joint, my wrist joint, is focusing on this part of this muscle. And sometimes I use it, this is supinated, pronated. Now I'm not only it's still working here, it's just a different angle to just confuse or not confuse or shock the muscle or keep the muscle guessing. All right, you're doing this. You could see this part. And then I'll hold the weight at neutral doing this. It's still hitting all of this. But not only you holding the handle, the weight at a different position, you're fighting gravity in different ways. Okay, so let's say if it's a barbell, you have the load focusing straight on your hand like this, and then you're doing this. So when the let's say you're doing supinated, you have the load, okay, you the dumbbell, you know, it has two sides, right? So you're gonna try to keep it neutral, not neutral but level. You're gonna try to keep the weight level while you're doing this. Okay, so it's different characteristic of the load, the same weight, but different you know, little angles to target the muscles. Okay, so I will do, okay, neutral, supinated, pronated, and then I will, you know, while it's at neutral, I will do this or that. All right, so these are the movement of the wrist joint. So I'm utilizing it in all its capabilities. And sometimes I will rotate while I have the weight in my hand to hit different muscles. And then when you look at your hip joint, which is also ball and socket, all right, so you know, you could go like this, you could go like that, right? So when you look at, you do your leg, you could go in a circle. So you have to utilize the joints of each muscles to its full capabilities in order for you to see result in your body, and it hit different muscle fibers. All right, so, and there was one particular video that I did, I don't remember what I call it, but I remember talking about something where the closer you are, let's say you want to target your arm your forearm, so the joint that's closer to that particular muscle is the one you need to move. So for instance, if I'm working the forearm, there's no reason for me to move my shoulder. All right, so it's like you're spreading the load, the amount of weight or movement that this is supposed to do, because you want this muscle to work, so you don't want other part of the muscles to work. So the closer the joint that is closer to the muscle that you're trying to target, that's what you have to you know, move. Everything else is locked in place. All right, so if I'm working, let's say, my chest muscle, all right, although it depends on what kind of movement you're doing. If you're doing fly, or if you're doing presses or something like that, so everything else remain locked with the exception of the joint that is close to the chest muscle. So if I'm doing chest fly, everything, knees, leg, ankle, wrist, remain locked, including your elbow. Only this you should try to move, your shoulders, right? This remain locked, okay? If you could even open your hand as you're doing, let's say, the fly, okay? Is this not moving? This doesn't need to move, this doesn't need to move. These are there to create the load for this part to move it, right? Like this. The joint that is closer to the muscles you're trying to target, that's the joint that should be moving. Everything else is locked in place. All right, so that's what I was thinking yesterday in terms of this particular picture. So I drew half of a body and showing the shoulder and the ball and socket. That, you know, anyway, I hope I make sense. Let me know what you think. And I created a video the other day saying that I need subscribers. Before, I really didn't care much about subscribers, but I've had people from different places. I know they are looking, watching at some of my videos, but they are not subscribing. So, and they send me emails asking me questions, and I just want to put this out there. I'm not a professional in this field. It's based on things that I've educate myself. Although I did start out as a nursing student and then I didn't like it. I stopped. So I have a very minor basic ideas into this stuff, but I will not consider myself as a professional in the field. I'm just saying things based on my understanding, and then you guys could do further research on them. So yeah, and as you can see, yesterday, let me block my address. I just received this for my architecture exam. They're changing the thing so many times, and mentally I'm not ready to take the test. I did all the hard work leading for me. This takes a lot. In order for you to start taking the architecture exam, there's a lot of experience they required and things like that. I've done it all, but they changed the rules and regulations to take the exam, and the tests are not cheap. All right, they're into hundreds, and then if you fail it, you have to wait a couple months before you take it again. So I'm not mentally ready to do that. My focus right now is my kids. When they come back from school, I have to study with them and things like that. So mentally, I'm not ready to take my architecture exam. I don't know if I will ever be, but when I'm ready, I have a lot of books. They're probably outdated now because it's been a while. So yeah, that's it. I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe, like, and share. Thanks.